everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles show on a Monday afternoon. We pushed things back from noon today to 3 o'clock so that Zach and I could be there to watch Jason Kelce spend a good amount of time going through the course of his career, reflecting on everything that has gone into a Hall of Fame career. He has announced his retirement. We're going to talk about that. We'll get into some of the ramifications for the Eagles roster, but mostly reflecting on what has been a remarkable career. I know everybody in the chat is already talking about how much they were crying throughout the performance. Zach, did you get emotional?
I did not cry. But first off, I was impressed with Jason as a writer, right? From one writer to another, a little envious. But it was a beautiful speech, right? And for someone who's covered his career, hearing those specific moments, the perspective that he had on all of them, and then the emotional part especially was him talking about Kylie, his wife, and his parents, and the relationship that he has with his brother, right? Things that really transcend what we see with him as a football player. Him talking about when Kylie walked into Buffalo Billiards, right? And being and seeing the molten steel with his father and his mother going to college and what he learned from her. And then just that genuine relationship with Travis. There was much there that you can see. You see a lot of who Jason is through all these interactions along the way.
Well, he rolled it into the city of brotherly love, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly the relationship that the team has, the fans have with the players. When they're doing their best, they're going to thank them for it. And when they're not doing their best, they're going to tell them that. And they're going to be honest. And that's the relationship he has with Jason. I got emotional. I had some tears. Absolutely. I was sitting there. I've been seeing this guy for over a decade. He's going through the emotional ringer. I'm not going to feel empathetic towards that. Absolutely.
What made you cry?
A lot of it. I think, see, it wasn't even just the family stuff to me because that was only at the very end. He was getting emotional throughout it all.
Sure.
He like the reverence that he has for football and everything that it has brought to his life, the way that he starts the speech, like that whole thing was a love letter to the game, right? And what it gave him at a young age, like the things that it taught him in college about hard work, and then the fortune that he's had to play in the NFL, but working with all of these people from all these different sports. A lot of these things are themes that he has talked about over the course of his 13-year career. He's talked often about, how much he loves the fact that an NFL locker room is such a melting pot and is so diverse. And a lot of these things that, he's playing back Hungry Dogs Run Faster and No Man is an Island. And we've seen some of these things, but to see it all rolled into one, I agree. It was very impressive.
Yeah, the football stuff for sure. Now some of that is stuff we've been, party to, right? And so seeing him roll in for sure. But when you're saying the parts that really resonated with me, it was the human element of it, and also him acknowledging like the Jason Kelce that the world sees now. That was not the Jason Kelce from 2016. That was not the Jason Kelce from 2012. Before Philadelphia knew him, that was not the Jason Kelce in college, right? Or in Cleveland Heights. So seeing the vulnerability, the humanity that really accumulated to build this first ballot Hall of Famer, you don't usually see someone as open and honest as Jason Kelce was today.
Let us know in the comments what your favorite parts were, and maybe your favorite parts of Kelce's career. Obviously, you know what though? Like I think there's also like a nice message that is to be told from him sitting up there and getting emotional, and where in a sport where like it's so often this like toxic masculinity, right? And certainly he's got some of that too. Like, we'll talk about him running over Zaire Franklin in the middle of Colts practices and stuff. And that's one of the things that I know that he has given a lot of thought to in post-playing career. Like, what is going to be the vessel for him to get rid of that anger?
Sure.
But, this is a guy who's very in touch with his emotions. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing at all. And
Well, I mean, if you don't think it's productive, then
I think his emotions are productive.
okay.
And I would say well earned, right? Like I don't think anything there today was manufactured per se. I think when he got up there, he couldn't get a word out before crying. Like
Yeah, so I'm walking in. He's already got tears in his eyes walking up. He knows.
Yeah. He might have seen you in that.
Yeah, that must have been it.
But the gravity, the gravity of this hit him right away when he got up there. And the reality,
well, and you could hear him, like, he really did break when he finally said the words, 35 minutes in, like, I'm announcing my retirement. And like the word retirement, when he said that, I felt like hit him like a ton of bricks. Like, this really is it.
But
because obviously he's danced with this for like 5 years now.
Sure. And he's sitting up there and he looks to his right and Travis is there and Ed Kelce and Donna Kelce are there and Kylie Kelce are there. And then you get the second row and, Jason Bernstein, his agent, and throughout the auditorium, people who've been part of this journey, Jeff Stoutland's family, Nick Sirianni, Howie Roseman. It was the Connor Barwin, Brent Selleck. I can keep going on. So the gravity of the moment hit him right away. The first minute and a half, there might have been 2 words, right? And he was wondering, how's he going to get through this? I'm wondering, how's he going to get through this, right? I mean, we've seen Jason cry.
We've seen him overcome lots of things. This is him overcoming something one more time.
And then he got rolling. And then there were particular touch points in there that hit him. And
are you impressed that it was all done on the phone and not like a printed out piece of paper? You think it was a notes app? You think it was like a?
Well, that's how
you think
people.
He was reading an email that he sent to himself. What do you think was the actual physical read on the phone?
I would probably guess notes app, but I'm not sure. I mean, you see that a lot now at wedding speeches, right? I'm more of give me the paper, right? I don't want to just read it off the phone. Sometimes you can memorize it. This would have been a hard one to memorize today.
That would have been a lot.
Yeah, sometimes you can do it impromptu, but the words, the message, it was. I've been to a handful of retirement press conferences, and this was different because of like the thought that went into each of those words, each of those interactions over the years.
Well, and I think that it says a lot about him, right? That it began with like thanking all of the, he's thanking his high school band teacher in addition to, the high school coaches and all these people. And, he has with Travis, like they have let people into their lives a lot with the podcast. And he has always been very authentic and willing to talk to anybody. Right. But some of those things like you maybe have heard before, but I think it like if you're putting yourself in his parents' shoes, I think you would be proud of the fact that like he is up there knowing that like this is the biggest story in football and he's spending the time to specifically thank like all of these people along the way who helped him get there. Like that is not lost on him.
Well said. And like specifically by name, and
I think of the pop that everybody like mentioned is gonna get from that.
Sure.
Like,
the strength coaches, right? The Longo, the strength coach at Cincinnati, who made him a center. I am curious, though, if I can ask you, when you think about this press conference 10 years from now, what's the line that's going to most resonate? And which one do you think is going to be like the line from this press conference that people remember the most?
Well, it seems like you have one.
No, I'm asking you. I'm
allowed. I know, but I don't know that I have but there is one line that I have that I think I might write about tonight, but I don't know if it's the one that I will remember or like that's the most, like the big takeaway. What is the one that you have?
Well, I think the one the fans are going to remember is the Nick Foles, Doug Peterson.
Oh, that was very funny. Yeah.
Yes.
What did he say?
I'm trying to think. Can I say it here?
Yeah, I mean, you curse on the show all the time.
Yeah, but now I'm mindful of this. He said Nick Foles.
He's going through. He goes through the specific memories.
Yes.
There were like 12 specific memories that he had, and one of them obviously was the Super Bowl. And yeah, he said, I'll never forget Nick Foles with the biggest dick on the team, walking over to Doug Peterson and saying, "Let's do Philly," And Doug Peterson had the biggest balls in the stadium and said, "Yeah, let's do it."
Yeah.
It was good.
I think people are going to remember that. I like the line about when he was talking about his famous speech.
That was a very good line. I
And
agree.
he said that was not my speech, that was Philadelphia's.
Yes.
I
thought that was a very good line.
Yeah, I think that's really going to resonate in this town for a long time. I think I've heard him
Darren
say
Sproles line was funny.
Darren Sproles, a little offensive. he said the 6'9" Jordan Mailata with the 4'8" Darren Sproles. Darren Sproles is taller than 4'8", but it was said for effect. And,
Yeah.
But that sequence there, I liked that especially because that is so true in a football locker room.
Yeah. That was good writing too.
What's that?
It was good writing too. Like,
Yes.
he doesn't have to mention Fletcher Cox by name.
No.
He just has to say a defensive tackle from Yazoo City.
Nor Devontae Smith, nor Jake Elliott, right? Devontae Smith's the skinny wide receiver from Louisiana.
By the way, no mention of a quarterback from Channelview High School.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not trying to stir anything. I just thought that was kind of interesting. There was no even allusion to the quarterback.
I don't know.
Just caught me by surprise.
Vociferous defensive Nick Sirianni.
Yes.
I don't say a defense, but an endorsement for Howie Roseman, who
absolutely.
He knows at one point in his career, like the Eagles were.
He loves to take a chance to mention the year on the other side of the building.
Yeah, but the 2016 year, like that really sticks with Jason.
Right.
That there are a lot of people in that building.
Yeah.
Who are looking to get rid of him. And when he said, I think the Jeff Stoutland parts, like outside of the family, the Jeff Stoutland parts were probably the most touching to me because the amount of time they spend with each other, right? It's more than they spend with their families.
Sure.
It is, and it's rare to have a position coach and a player for 11 years. And it's not just a position coach there. It's as he said, like Jeff Stoutland was the guy in the building who kept him there, who believed in him.
Yeah.
And when he said that, all you need sometimes is someone who believes in you, like that.
There's a special power to that. Yeah.
That really resonates. So
it's interesting because for him, it's both, right? Like he's talking about all along the way there have been these people who believed in me, but also his motivation has always been proving people wrong, and like people who doubt him, that's what really gets him going.
Yeah.
So like to have the both forces at once, I think he feels is what helped propel him.
That's well said, because the second point there about being doubted and whatnot, the end of his speech was
very
interesting.
Funny.
He said he's overrated.
Yeah.
He said he's accomplished a lot, but he says when he's best and is when he's being doubted. He says he would kill to be the underdog.
Right. He would wish he wishes more than anything he was still an underdog.
He was still an underdog. And it is true. Like over these past 3 years, in the past, I would say 18 months in particular, he's turned into a transcendent figure. Someone, I mean, it's odd to think that a center of a football team is this press conference today. This was streamed live all over the place, right? National TV was streaming this live. That this is the biggest story in the NFL today. This is one of the biggest story. I mean, I don't want to say one of the biggest stories in the world. That's hyperbole, but it's going to be like it's a transcendent.
I don't
news
think you
topic.
should go even bigger. Space guy. Let's see. How about the galaxy? It's
a transcendent news topic, and to think that the center of a football team gets that is it's hard to overstate that. Like Deshaun Jackson, one of the most exciting players in Eagles history, retired this year, and it was a nice ceremony.
Tough timing, by the way. They had a friend Duffy who put out the great video of Jason Kelce's career. They put out another one on Deshaun Jackson, and it gets released the day of the Kelce retirement. Talk about getting buried.
But I'm saying, like, players in this league come and go. They all say you're all renting space. Like Jason Kelce is a part of, to use the term you like to say, the national zeitgeist, in a way that is it's almost hard to fathom. And that press conference today, like the amount of text that I received when I was walking out that door.
Flex?
I don't know if that's a flex. I mean,
you would not believe the amount of text I was getting.
No, but
I am so popular.
That's not what I was suggesting. My point is people I hadn't heard from in a long time.
Obama?
I wish President Obama reached out. I did not get a message.
Jeffrey?
From him. No, I did not hear.
Pause
from Jeffrey.
though. A pause.
I did not hear from Jeffrey. But no. So point being that you see, like, for him to get to that level of consciousness says a lot about Jason Kelce.
Now, there was also one very funny moment in the middle of the press conference. I don't know if you caught this. Kelce is thanking the people. He mentions Dom, the lifeblood of the organization. What a move by Dom in the middle of this press conference. There's a lawnmower going on outside about like halfway through the press conference. And Dom goes, I was like, dude, give it 15 minutes, please. Like, not now.
I mean, the landscaper's just doing his job.
It's not the landscaper's fault, but that's
There's gotta be a memo.
the very wide gamut of responsibilities that Dom is able to take. Yeah. Thought that was funny. Yeah. What else from the speech got to you? What are you looking at?
I'm just looking at the comments. I appreciate everyone tuning in live and those who are going to watch this back. This is going to be a good episode. So what else got to me?
What is that supposed to mean?
So I could say this.
You're saying that people love it. You're saying that people love Jason Kelce.
Yes, exactly. A touching / sad moment was when he was talking about Garrett Reed.
Yeah, I thought this was, that list of his reflections, like the moments that he would never forget, I thought was really interesting. And that's actually, I was crying. I was tearing up during that part when he talks about his dad coming in with tears in his eyes because his son has realized his dream. And then he's the one who has the tears in his eyes when Andy calls Travis. But for him to call out the Garrett Reed mention, because for me, I started covering the Eagles a year before he got there, right? Or 2 years before. And so all of his memories, those are my memories too. From we're about the same age, from the same point in my life. Now we have different perspectives on them. Obviously, we live different things. But if I'm thinking of the most vivid memories I have from my time covering the team, that is certainly one of them. And the way that he talked about it as one of the most real moments he's ever had, connecting with a group of men. Of course, that is a core memory from his experience, and I think that's part of the greatness of the way that Kelce is able to connect with the fan base and talk to people. That he's not going to sugarcoat stuff.
Sure.
He's talking about the arc of his career. One of the most vivid memories. That is one of them. And so what if it makes people uncomfortable? That happened, and he will never forget that.
Well said. So that stood out. Then you get to 2013, the Chip Kelly, that first game. But when he
said almost 50 plays. I believe it was 53 plays in the first half.
But when he was talking about the snow game, and he said the most fun he's ever had playing football, and it felt like you were in the backyard. And when he said that, Travis was nodding his head and tearing up, because you can imagine that's what they did in Cleveland Heights, right? In the backyard, just playing football in the snow.
And that's again, if I'm thinking about my time, that is going to be one of the few things that I definitely vividly remember. It's just interesting.
And then when you get to, so I thought the Zach Ertz reference is I'm going sequentially in terms of the years,
that's okay.
Not sequentially in the way he said it. But
it was a long speech. It's hard.
But the Zach Ertz reference from 2016 and seeing the effect that had on Zach Ertz, and when he was talking about kind of redeeming yourself in the city's eyes. So then you have obviously after the 2016 season, like we said, look, the Eagles drafted Isaac Seumalo, and there was a lot of talk then about the Eagles moving on from Jason Kelce and said the relationship with Stout. And then you get to the Super Bowl. And then you get to Nick Sirianni and the way he utilized the flower analogy and the endorsement.
Somebody made a knock to Flowers back, but the roots are still there, baby.
And the endorsement that he gave for Nick Sirianni when he talked about the Super Bowl against Travis and the conflicted emotions of losing that game but seeing your brother win. I would say when he talked about playing in Philadelphia, and I've heard him speak about this a number of times, and every time it's more kind of poignant and direct and I would say like raw and true every time. He's used this term so many times over, and it's true that you write your own narrative. And it's something that, I mean, we on the other side of this, I always keep in mind, like, they're the ones writing the narrative. We're chronicling it, but they're the ones writing the narrative. They're the ones controlling it. And he tells this to players all the time. And he says how Philadelphia is hard to play in. Sometimes you hate it, but they're demanding. And he said they want you to love Philadelphia, or they want you to love it as much as they love it. And he's someone who really understood. Like, I think we've used this line before, that he didn't just play in Philadelphia, like he's of Philadelphia now. He understood this city. And actually, Jeffrey Lurie has a statement out now. It's a long statement, but there's a line in there and I'm quoting him directly. Quote, Jason was an incredible football player, a future Hall of Famer who would have been successful anywhere. But has there ever been a more perfect marriage rather, between a player, a city, and a team? And it's an interesting way of framing it.
Yeah, and I don't think there has been. Certainly not in my time. And people will say that.
I mean, Dawkins,
right? And I think there's
Iverson,
some connective tissue there. The PR advice of what you just said, of like, you write your own narrative, I think is something important for like the team to keep in mind.
Sure.
Because we've talked about this, like when there is silence and there is the absence of their voices, like then the story gets written for you. And Kelce was good at not making that happen. Now, he also like rose to a level where he was able to do that and control it a little bit more himself. But like not everybody on the roster has that gravitas. But I think it is like a good just piece of PR advice.
Well said. In addition to, look, all the stuff about Kylie was great and touching, but it was poignant too when he said that it's no coincidence that the best years of his career came with her by his side, right? Like the belief that she created and the support. And that is true. And you could say like Jeff Stoutland, the belief there. But you look at these last 5-6 years of his career, it's the best he's ever played. And he would tell you that that's not a coincidence.
Yeah, I think we've talked about in the past how there's sort of like a trick that Kelce plays where he makes it seem like he is an everyman, right? And there's sort of a falseness to that because, he's like one of the best athletes to ever play offensive line. Like, his some of his combine records still stand. He sees the game in this like savant-like way.
Sure.
He obviously like he makes you feel like, oh, if I could have put in all of that work, like maybe I could have gotten to that level, which is not the case. And I think that he has made the case that he doesn't see himself as a Hall of Fame player because he's not like scheme transcendent.
Yeah.
He thinks about like Jason Peters, and I do love that story of the first time he ever saw Jason Peters take a pass set, and then he saw everybody else. He's like, okay, I'll be fine. But I think there's a flip side to that where the things that he allowed the team to do are because of his unique skill set at the position. Sure, it took, Howard Mudd being willing to see that and Jeff Stoutland like designing an offense or a run game at least around that. Good coaching is about putting your players in the best positions to succeed, right? But the things that he allowed them to do are different than like a Hall of Fame guard or something like that. Like he changed the DNA of their offense with his skill set and how good he was more than I think other like, quote unquote Hall of Fame players might have.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And he did say he was an overrated player.
At the end.
But I don't know.
He talked about that in the Super Bowl locker room last year.
Sure.
Like he talked about like, I'm an all-pro again, but like I know the ways that I'm slipping. Like I am not the same player. And I'm sure that he felt that even more acutely this year. And there is something poetic about like he beat the game because like you kept thinking he's gonna have to miss a game at some point. Like the injuries, knock on wood, as he would do, like never caught up to him. So he closes his career with this streak. But like he does get to go off on his terms, and I think he knows that he's not the player that he wants to be right now.
That's true, but he still was like he was a special player for the reasons you said. As much as the everyman part comes in, the athletic ability, the technique. You know, there's that clip going around social media this weekend about,
I love that clip.
yeah. Like the way he can think football. And I would say too, just speaking to players who played with him and players who played against him, that's the ultimate measure, right? Because they'll tell you how valuable he is and how kind of special he is as a player. I mean, I'm not an expert on offensive line play, but when you speak to other offensive linemen, they appreciate the subtleties with which he plays.
Well, and another thing that he always talks about, of course, is the camaraderie, right? And how much he loves just being around the guys. And you know that Jason Kelce is a man who has sucked back a few Miller Lights in his time. Because a lot has changed over the years, but one thing that hasn't is the great taste of Miller Lite. It was the original light beer, and to this day, it is still the best one. Miller Lite has more of the taste you want and less of the stuff you don't. And I think all throughout Philadelphia and Eagles fans elsewhere tonight, reminiscing on Jason Kelce, talking to their buddies, probably over a Miller Lite. Because what is better than getting around, you know, the campfire or the bar stools or whatever, just sucking them back with the boys. That's what Kelce's all about, right? And so
Sucking them back with the boys.
sucking them back with the boys. I don't know. You know, this sometimes it says open read, and it's like freelance a little bit. But my typeface is a little too small right now, and the Wi-Fi is not great in this specific room. So here we are. Times change, but you can always enjoy the great taste of Miller Lite. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/PHLYBirds, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories per 12 ounces. The original light beer since 1975, baby.
Now, presumably,
Can't get this open.
Presumably,
to Jason.
Presumably, if Jason Kelce wants to go to a game next year, he knows some people, but maybe he wants to pull a Roy Kent and just, try to show up at the last minute.
Wow.
In that case, he should make sure he has Game Time on his phone, because Game Time is the place where you can buy tickets to your favorite events without being stressed out. It's a fast music, comedy, and theater near you with killer deals and last-minute tickets and the best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Jason's only used to the view on the sideline at football games, but if he's
been to plenty of Travis's games.
Okay, so
luxury boxes. Yeah.
Okay, but if he wants to know what it's like in section 338, let's say, okay, he can pull that up. He can pull up the image seat view that they have, and you get image of the seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. And it's buying tickets in a matter of seconds. It's just 2 taps, and Jason's all set. And the tickets are sent directly to his phone, so you never have to dig through your email. And Jason will tell you he's not always good at responding to emails, right? So he probably has a backlog of emails. You can snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
What do you think Jason Kelce's doing next football season?
I think Jason Kelce is doing, my guess is Thursday night games on Amazon is my early guess. What do you think?
I don't know. Maybe NBC?
See, I think the Thursday night games allow him to watch Travis play.
Yeah,
right?
That's true. Yeah, you're probably right. He probably, I don't know.
Do you want him? Or you can go apple picking. You're a big apple picking guy on weekends, right? That's like a thing he could do.
What are you talking about?
Don't you go? You've gone apple picking before.
In my life, I have gone apple picking.
On fall weekends, you've gone.
Yeah,
I said, what are you doing? You're going
typically
apple picking.
Once a year, maybe.
Okay, so Jason could go apple picking. He can go to Linvilla. Okay,
don't go to Linvilla. Way too crowded.
Okay,
come on.
Oh, okay, but
how could he get it? He would have no chance of getting around with the kids at Linvilla. He'd get stopped everywhere he went.
Okay, well, my point is Jason can have a free weekend with the kids, whereas if he's on NBC, he's traveling on
Yeah,
weekends.
that's a fair point. Well, yeah, I
Right.
mean, who knows? Travis probably doesn't have much longer, so he probably does want to be able to go see those games one more
Sure,
time. Yeah.
exactly. So that's why I'm thinking.
I wonder if it'll be like like an NBC like a traveling show or something like that. Like
Interesting.
you can go tailgate, something like that. I don't know.
And then he's got the pod, of course.
Got the pod.
Yes, he has some other investments.
You spent a couple days shadowing him at the broadcast boot camp. How good
did.
was he?
He was really good. There were technical aspects of it that he needs to refine, but there were things he was observing in the moment. There was a specific thing, for instance, they were doing a mock game. It was him and Andrew Siciliano, and there was a Minnesota Vikings game, and Adam Thielen. This was from 2 years ago. So Adam Thielen. It was the way he was holding the ball, and Jason observed it right away, and he mentioned there was a drill that they used from Nick Sirianni. But actually, the parts from those 3 days that I found most fascinating wasn't as much Jason on the camera. It was the broadcast boot camp. It's out in Los Angeles, and it's players, some current, some retired, who want to go in the media. And so he was with a group of like 12, 14 players. I mean, his group included Ndamukong Suh. It included Chris Johnson. It included Lendell White. There was a lot of
Chris Johnson and Lendell White.
Yes.
Thunder and Lightning.
Yeah. There were a number of players, some prominent, some less prominent, but they all had to go around the room in one of the meetings and kind of talk about why they were there, like a icebreaker on the first day of like a summer camp or something. And Jason, he was very vulnerable about the fact that he knows his playing career is almost over and that he knows players who've really struggled with that. They lose their identity. They don't have an identity, let's say. Or they're trying to figure out, that's probably a better way of framing it. They're trying to find that identity post-football because for a lot of these guys, 2 decades of their lives, they've been defined they define themselves almost by what they do and the adulation that comes with it and the lifestyle that comes with it. And all of a sudden, it's like civilian life, right? So he was preparing ahead for it. And you saw some of this, those who watched the documentary last year saw some of this, but he was talking,
rewatching like the first half.
Yeah,
right,
but he was talking about how he has cattle farming or he has cattle in Missouri and he has some real estate investments. Like he's dabbled in a lot of different things. And it's trying to figure out what he's going to do because there's nothing that can kind of replace the competitive aspect of this, right? There's things you can find intellectually stimulating. But there's nothing that you probably find as competitively stimulating as professional football.
Well, I mean, you could try to get like the PHLY Eagles podcast to become the most popular sports show in the world.
I would love that.
That'd be a nice competitive juice thing to get going.
I would love that.
Just if Jason wants to join,
Get
competitive. I'm more. I kind of hope that just selfishly it ends up where he's like doing games eventually because like his insight into the game I find so interesting as opposed to like the tailgate stuff. But what he wants.
Yeah, and I hope he gets to enjoy some time with those 3 daughters. And
well, I thought that was important. Yeah. He said today that like increasingly he is getting more fulfillment from stuff off the field than on the field. Which
is I'm glad you brought that up because he always told us. Howard Mudd Jeff Stoutland would tell him there's going to be a time when you don't want to do this. And Jason says, I'm always going to want to do this. He says, no, there's going to be a time when you don't want to do this. And I'm not saying that time has come, but when you're as fulfilled or more fulfilled by what's at home than what's in the locker room, that can sometimes be a sign.
Yeah. Plus, Kylie says on the thing, like she wants him to be retired at a point when he can like still get on the floor and play with the kids. Like, you saw his body at the Pro Bowl, like just bending over to snap the ball. Sure. Like I think he has worn that pretty significantly.
Although, I agree. But if you or I were snapping the ball, we would feel it too, right?
Of course.
Yeah, and we're not professional football players.
No, but we're also 37 years
Yeah.
old, right?
Yes, exactly. So he's near that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the body's not what it once was for us too. And I think we're also elite physical specimens, just like
Oh,
Kelce was,
well, you were quite the athlete in high school,
and beyond.
if you don't say so yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, well, one more thing before we get to like the actual ramifications for the roster,
Yeah.
because it's an important conversation. Like,
Yeah.
as fun of a personality as he is, he was also a great player, and the Eagles are going to have a lot of work to do to replace him. But the other thing that we have talked about in the past, and I think we talked about it when we watched the documentary, but like one thing that is striking about Kelce is, and again, this goes back to like a thing you would be proud of if you were his parents, is like the attention he always pays to like every interaction. Like we've talked about, like when he's out in the town, like of course everybody wants to come up to him, and he's always giving them the time of day. I think if you like ask the reporters in the locker room, like everybody who do you have the best relationship with? I think most people would say Jason Kelce, right? Go. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Maybe that's not the case for you,
Yeah.
but I mean, part of that's because he's been there a long time,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like there are reps there.
Sure.
But I think like a lot of teammates would say the same thing, right? Like he is someone who seems like he's always like meeting people on their level.
Well said. Yeah, it's something I've heard from a lot of different angles, that he has a tremendous ability to make you feel like you're the most important person in the room when he's talking to you, right? And sometimes it's as simple as him listening, and sometimes it's little things that he can find to connect with you.
There's a curiosity as well.
Exactly. So,
and listen, we have also not like, just because you're accessible to the media doesn't mean you're a good guy. Like we have
but
sort of danced around that game before. Like that, those two things are not the same, but you see it over and over and again. Like I think he is genuinely authentic.
Yeah, I would say that too. And there have been, instances where, like, when I've been out and he's been out, and I will intentionally
big
say,
flex coming here.
I will intentionally say to like the person I'm with, like, don't bother Jason, right? He gets bothered all the time.
Yeah.
Don't bother Jason. And he'll like come over, and he knows how, the person you're with.
Zach Berman, he's probably saying the same thing. He's like,
no,
Zach gets this all the time.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he has a tremendous ability to make people feel important.
Yes.
And that's a skill. It's a gift in some respects, and it's one that he uses very well.
All right. Well, you mentioned.
What's your best Jason Kelce story? The two of you.
I'm about to get into an ad read.
I'm so sorry, Bo. I was trying to make conversation on here.
I'm trying to pace this thing out so that we can then end on the roster conversation.
Yeah, so I figured we would get to that before the roster. So post ad read, we focus on the roster. But Jason very well. He was a part of,
as well as like someone in the locker room. I don't,
Oh, but you covered him as a beat writer.
Yeah.
You were a team employee when he was there. When you had your Tybo, whatever you would call it. What was it called? When you were in the room.
Tabo.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I don't think that was worth that look, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, if you're going to try to call it out specifically by name, you should get it right.
Yeah,
you could have just said the Wolf's Den thing.
The Wolf's Den thing? Yeah. So you've known him since he came into the
Billy
league.
Blanks over here.
You've known him since he came into the league. What's your best Jason Kelce interaction?
Well, I don't know if it's my best interaction, but I would say that the story from 2018 on, or was it 19? 19.
It was 2019. Oh, that was an amazing
2019
story.
season,
Yeah.
when we carved out time once a week to like just, I was so fascinated about like the actual little things that were going on in his body over the course of an NFL season. What I loved about that process was that, having covered the team for as long as we have, like that was a side of the game that I was always curious about and never had full insight into. And that he was willing to open up, I thought was great.
Yeah.
And I think he saw the value of that as well, because it was an untold story. So that's my favorite long-term thing for sure.
I like that.
Yeah.
There you go. That's nice.
I appreciated him being willing to do that.
And a terrific story you can check out. You did a number of really good stories on Jason Kelce over the years.
Okay. All right. Well, I had a whole real estate mortgage transition here, but that got waylaid. So instead, let me just tell you about Mortgage CS, because the CS stands for concierge service, which means white glove service. That's what you get with Mortgage CS, which is an independent mortgage broker based right here in Philadelphia. And they give the full control to the lenders they work with. They're available 24/7 and licensed coast to coast in California, Colorado, DC, Delaware, Florida, Massachusetts, Maryland, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Virginia, and Washington. So don't forget to spread the word to friends and family in those areas. Mortgage CS offers refinancing options, including rate and term refinances for a rate/payment reduction, or cash out refinances to tap into home equity, making it a smart choice for those with high interest debt or funding home projects or education. The spring purchase market is almost here, and it's heating up quickly, baby. Many clients, especially first-time home buyers, are reaching out as they want to be ready when the rates drop. But this is what everyone is doing. Given limited inventory and strong demand, competition will remain extremely fierce this year. Get in touch with them to prepare and ensure you will be able to stand out and make the strongest offers possible. Mortgage CS is here to provide exceptional customer service with 24/7 availability from the two owners, Alec and Ben. They help you win in a competitive market by calling the listing agents, reviewing offers, and highlighting your positive credentials and their stellar reputation. When you hear the word mortgage, think of Mortgage CS. Think of Ben and Alec. Save Ben's telephone number, 267-391-7425 to your phone. Email ben@mortgagecs.com. Call or text Ben any time of the day or night. Talk Philly sports. Talk Jason Kelce. Check out mortgagecs.com/PHLY to get started.
And
hold on. This advertisement is not a commitment to lend or extend credit. Mortgage CS is an equal housing opportunity mortgage broker. All loans are subject to credit approval. Certain restrictions may apply. Company NMLS ID 1464766. Visit mortgagecs.com for more information. You may go.
I was going to say, part of the great thing about PHLY is it's not just these great shows we have, but there's so much more. There's merch, there's events, there's a website. You can join Charlie, Bill, and other PHLY hockey diehards at the Wells Fargo Center on March 14th as the Flyers take on the Toronto Maple Leafs in an Eastern Conference showdown presented by Olipop. There's also a trade deadline show that was just up there. The takeover tickets include pregame. There you go, March 8th. I should have mentioned this from the jump. At the Chicken or the Egg, there's a watch party for the trade deadline. There's the takeover tickets for the one that I just mentioned, includes pregame meetup with PHLY crew and a game ticket in the assembly room to enjoy the game with the other diehards. Check out all our upcoming events at allphly.com under the events calendar. You can follow the PHLY Phillies team for details on opening day. And you can see the shirts we have up there. Make sure you become a diehard, not just for the discount on the merch, not just for 20% off events, not just for the free shirt when you become a member, not just for the members only diehard or the members only Discord, but also the premium written content, including today's 100 free agents for the Eagles written by Bo Wulf. It's an awesome piece. We're going to delve into that quite a bit during the next 4 days, but you can find that all on allphly.com.
Well, thanks for plugging that. We will indeed get into that. And one thing that we should talk about is how the Eagles are going to go about backfilling Jason Kelce's departure. So obviously, they have drafted people to be the eventual successor over the years. Cam Jurgens, we expect, will become the starting center, but that all of a sudden leaves a hole at right guard. In theory, that's Tyler Steen in the short term. Now, they also have Sua Opeta and Jack Driscoll set to be free agents, and so the depth along the offensive line is often a big hang-up for them, and it's like they know that this is a thing that has torpedoed seasons in the past. Right now, they've got that projected starting five, if you count Steen as the right guard, and Fred Johnson, and that's it. So they have work to do. they're not going to enter the draft, I think, with just those 6 guys, obviously. Do you think that they will be in a hurry to add a starting caliber offensive lineman to this roster in free agency?
No, not in free agency. I think that what they will do is in the draft, and I've been saying this, I think the odds are highest that they would take, or the odds are best that they would take a right tackle who maybe can swing the right guard, maybe not, but gives them depth there and make Tyler Steen a full-time right guard. I'm expecting Cam Jurgens to be the center. And that's what they drafted him to be. He was out of position last year. It's not like Landon Dickerson where you can say he can play guard or center. Like I think Jurgens was playing guard because they wanted to play him, but he's more of a natural center. So, there's a lot of excitement about a Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon in the draft. I don't see the Eagles being in the market for a starting center. But I think
what about a starting right guard?
Potentially, but I do think that's more Tyler Steen music. And then drafting a right tackle who can potentially swing to right guard. But I don't think they're going to be in the free agent market, let's say, for a starter at that position. I think there's money. And we're going to get really into this, but the money they have, and I expect them to be aggressive. And I'm going to have a piece in the next 36 hours. It was going to run today on some combine leftovers, but I'm expecting the Eagles to be aggressive in free agency more so than last year. But I think it's going to be on the defensive side of the ball. So I really think this is the changing of the center, and the playoff of changing of the guard is going to be Cam Jurgens at center.
Well, I agree.
Yeah.
I think the concern is right guard because Tyler Steen wasn't able to win that job last year over Sua Opeta. I think there's a good chance they will re-sign Sua, but I think that they need to add somebody there who can, at the very least, compete with Steen on paper. But I think the general takeaway, like moving forward, is Eagles fans have had the luxury of just knowing that they're going to have a top 5 offensive line for a very long time. And I would caution thinking that that's going to be as easy as it has been. Because Kelce is gone. Lane is 34, right? And, Jordan Mailata and Landon Dickerson is a good 1-2 punch on the left side. It's not like all world. And if Cam Jurgens is like a realistic expectation for Cam Jurgens in his first year as a center is to be league average, right? At best in his first year playing it, because he was just okay as a guard last year, right? Then all of a sudden you say you don't know what you have at right guard. You've still got Lane if he's healthy, but he misses time almost every year if you're lucky. I think there is, like, as much as the Eagles organizationally overinvest at the position and have been planning for this eventuality for a long time, they might still not be ready to turn the page over and continue to have a really, really good offensive line.
No, that's a good point. And I've said this before. You've kind of, you and Sheil have had fun with me when I've done this. But like Jeff Stoutland, who's a terrific offensive line coach, one of the best in the NFL, one of the best position coaches in franchise history. I don't give him as much. Like, I understand Lane Johnson had to be developed, right? But like, I expect the number 4 pick in the draft to become a high-level player. I expect Landon Dickerson to become a high-level player. Where I really am impressed with Jeff Stoutland is taking someone like Jordan Mailata and turning him into one of the best tackles in the world. Is when they've had injuries, like making this work with a patchwork group. And now you're in a situation where you don't have a future Hall of Famer at center for the first time in Jeff Stoutland's time with the Eagles. Now,
bulletin board material for Cam Jurgens.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe he is a future Hall of Famer. And I understand Jason Kelce didn't always play like a future Hall of Famer, and he did develop under Stoutland. But this is going to be a big test. And I don't want, like, it's hyperbole to say it's like seeing Belichick without Brady, right? That's hyperbole. But the point is, these two have been linked together for so long. His center for 11 years outside of 4 games in 2014 has been Jason Kelce. And Jason Kelce is so important to that group. And the Eagles have been preparing for this, like you said. They spend these high draft picks on them. They could spend another high draft pick on an offensive lineman.
They also invest in Stoutland. He is
Yes.
one of, if not the highest paid position coach in football for a reason. That reason.
Good point. And so this is where you say that, all right, let's see Jeff Stoutland work his miracles, or not his miracles, but let's see Jeff Stoutland show why he's so good, because he's going to have Cam Jurgens starting there for the first time. He's going to have a right guard who is new to the starting lineup. Maybe not new to the team, maybe not new to the NFL, but is new to the starting lineup. And they're going to have to figure this out. There are going to be games next year, presumably, that they play without Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson, right? Lane Johnson's not always on the field throughout the entire season. That's something that has not been very favorable or that's not happened very often for the Eagles, right? Not having those two guys. So I am fascinated to see how that turns out.
I think they also probably need a true backup center at some point. There are a couple guys in free agency you might think are potential fits, but I mean Dickerson can do it in a pinch, right? But we talk about the needs at linebacker and safety and corner and like maybe a wide receiver, but like offensive line, and I think they will view as a real priority this offseason.
In free agency?
In the roster building, whether that is in the draft or not, or in free agency.
Yeah, they had a few.
I mean, it might just be bringing back Opeta and Driscoll, right? But
and they had a few future signings that like they made an investment. For instance, in is it Darian Kennard, who was a draft pick for the Chiefs. They brought him in. Like I heard that was the guy that they liked. They brought back LaRaven Clark. Gives them some experience there.
Don't give me LaRaven Clark. I mean, nice guy, but
they're not burning a roster spot and bonus on. Like, this is someone in terms of offensive line depth. No, I'm saying offensive line depth. There's a reason why that they brought Kennard in. There's a reason why.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Kennard coming out too, but he was on the Chiefs all year long, and they didn't want to re-sign him as a futures guy. Like, he was available for a reason. Let's be clear-headed about this. Those are guys who are on the roster, but
yeah, I'm saying that this is part of their like I would tell you if you spoke to people in that building, they probably view Darian Kennard as part of like the dart throws at offensive line.
Okay, part of the dart throws, that's fine.
Yeah,
but
so you want them to sign a Kevin Zeitler type? Like, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah. I think they need to sign someone with starting experience. Maybe that is Opeta,
Okay.
But right now, they cannot enter training camp or the draft with Darian Kennard as their number 7 offensive lineman.
Well, no, I expect their first round pick to presumably be an offensive lineman.
I said enter the draft. I don't think they can afford to do that.
I don't know about that. I don't think that they need to operate with this huge urgency of filling out the depth on the offensive line in March and April.
I disagree.
Okay.
Yeah,
We're going to have ample
I think
time
they
to discuss
disagree
that.
too.
Okay.
I would be shocked if they don't sign someone with starting experience.
I would be shocked
before the draft.
I don't want to use the term shocked. That'll be a bite here.
I'm including Opeta and Driscoll here.
Yeah. Okay. Like if they bring back one of those guys, that's fine. But I'm saying they're not going to throw any like real financial commitment to a backup offensive lineman. It would surprise me if they did that.
You would be surprised if the Philadelphia Eagles under Howie Roseman invest in the offensive line.
No, all right. You are twisting my words there. The investment in the offensive line is the starting 5. It's drafting and developing. But I don't think they're going to sign like a 31-year-old with starting experience to be a backup.
Well, now you're twisting my words. I haven't said that either.
No, so if they bring back a Driscoll or Opeta, I get that. What I'm saying is on their list of where they're going to allocate resources in terms of free agency, my guess is it's heavily focused on the defensive side of the ball.
Well, speaking of resources, what are the cap ramifications of the Kelce retirement?
Yeah, so the way the contract's structured, and shout out to Jason Fitzgerald at overthecap.com. He's been over this. It was structured for this to be a post-June 1st retirement. So even if the announcements today, the bookkeeping on this won't be until post-June 1st.
Bookkeeping, classic, one of the only words in the English language with back-to-back Ks.
I did not know that. Okay. Joy is nodding her head. She's very impressed.
She's done some trivia at some point, yeah.
Yeah. The bookkeeping on this will not really go into effect until post June 1st. And
Also,
then
Sam Decker.
thanks for adding that in while I was mid sentence. I would love to see what your response would be if I said and Sim Decker while you were in the middle of making a point. So they can spread this cap. But like, look, if it was applied today, there would be a cap hit of like 27 million or something like that. That's obviously prohibitive. This was designed for this to be post June 1st. They can spread that out. Essentially, based on my understanding, there will be like a cap savings. Like there's still gonna be a cap hit, but there's gonna be a cap savings of about $2.5 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
So material,
yes.
maybe enough to sign a
Perhaps
offensive lineman with starting
backup
experience.
offensive lineman. Yes.
Okay.
If I can ask you one quick thing here to
Please.
circle back to the initial conversation, like what do you think is on Jason Kelce's mind when he gets when he gets home tonight? There's always there's and shout
down.
out like shout out to Vince who works here who helps run the place. That we talk about the West Wing. The last scene of the West Wing is Jed Bartlett on Inauguration Day, and Santos just took over, and he's flying back to New Hampshire, and he's looking out the window, and his wife says, "What are you thinking about?" And he says, "Tomorrow," right? Like what's
poignant? Ooh, that's
it's an amazing scene. It's a terrific kicker too.
That's that Sorkinism, baby.
Well, actually, Sorkin wasn't involved by then.
Okay,
yeah, but
yeah, but they were trying to channel him.
I mean, they could be so lucky. Sorkin's incredible. But what do you think's on Jason Kelce's mind?
What do I think is on his mind?
Or like the come down when he gets home tonight?
I think tonight he's going to try to like dive into the kids and try to just be very present with the kids.
Answering text?
Maybe once the kids have gone to bed.
Okay. A lot of text to answer.
A lot of text to answer.
You probably need your laptop out for that. Yeah. It's hard to do that all on the phone.
For you. I mean, okay. He read his whole speech on his phone.
That's true.
Seems pretty comfortable working on the phone as the primary primary thing.
That's true.
Yeah, I think he's probably some reticence about what is to come, but he has a lot of opportunities, I'm sure. And so
true. It's true.
I don't know. I think he and Kylie will have a nice little toast tonight.
There you go. Not at 789, which closed in 6 months.
That was very funny. Yeah, the
Todd Herman's, or it was 879.
879. Yes.
Yeah. My kids, whenever they're facing a scary situation, they say, and we're in the car, they say, put on the Jason Kelce song.
The Cape.
Yeah, which is the Cape by Guy Clark. And so my son knows all about leaps of faith, because we talk about that. So there's that it's kind of like the end of that song here is that now he's taking this leap of faith at another stage of his life.
Well said. And now my last question to you: when is the last time that you cried?
I have an emotional side for sure. I mean, I'd rather not get into it. That's not why people tuned on, but. Tuned in.
I strongly disagree with the people who are still here watching this episode. They would love to
relatively recently. Yeah, there's a lot of times when I go back and I read old emails from people in my family or specific moments in my life or I have a whole I have a jump drive of videos sometimes I go back and watch from growing up. So
that's sweet.
Yeah, stuff like that, or there's Yeah, so I would say
I'm just glad. I want you to be emotionally healthy. I'm glad that you're letting it out. That's important.
Well, just not on the show. I mean, on the show, my objective is to provide good content, and we have a lot of.
I think you could learn from Jason Kelce that the people appreciate you being your authentic self.
Well, my authentic self during these next few days is really going to be diving into free agency and the roster building and all that goes into what the 2024 Eagles will look like.
Let's hash this out on the show right now. Should we do the show we were originally going to do today, workshopping the Quackatology bracket on the show tomorrow, and then do Quackatology in 2 parts on Wednesday, Thursday? Or should we go right into it tomorrow?
Let's probably go right into it tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're okay making the bracket. I'm okay.
I mean, we're
hashing it
both
out.
going to write tonight,
Sure.
right? So that
Yeah.
is a little bit
Actually,
more
yeah.
to
So
do.
let's hash it out tomorrow, and we have time. But we might need to truncate the quackatology into 2 days. The only thing that will throw us off is if there's a Fletcher Cox decision in the.
And by the way, talk about a tough act to follow. What if poor Fletcher Cox wants to retire this week and is like, you couldn't have let me go first, Jason?
I would say we have over here, we can't see it in this frame, but we have the third chair over here.
Sure.
Fletcher, if you want your time, man, that chair can go right over there, and we can give you an hour to talk about. Bo can make you cry if you want. We can talk about your great memories. We could talk about all these times over the years. You are invited to. Now you can of course do it on the podium at the team facility if you like.
Yeah, they probably invited him to, but
What I'm saying, but that's a tough act to follow.
Yeah,
you can do it your own way,
yeah.
right here on PHLY. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, it feels like he almost has to go the opposite way. Like if he just has to send like a 1-sentence email.
Yes.
Thanks for the memories.
See ya. Yeah.
Fletch out.
Yeah, Fletch out. Yeah. By the way, Stout always types out.
Stout out.
Yeah, Stout out. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right.
Bo
Well,
out.
that'll do it for this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. The Jason Kelce episode, I believe, looks like our highest rated episode of all time. So that's very exciting for all of us here at PHLY. We will be back tomorrow diving into free agency. Check out that top 100 list on allphly.com as your homework for tomorrow's episode. We will get into that in just in the guts of it tomorrow. So lots to talk about as we are 1 week away from the official beginning of the tampering period. By the way, Travis Kelce there today, is that like tampering?
No.
Do you think Howie's like, come on?
No. First off, he's under contract. He's only going to play for Andy Reid. And hey, really nice that he came, by the way. Like, you can see how genuine that relationship. What? It's
less nice that he came, and it would have been more ridiculous if he didn't come. It's his brother.
I don't think there's an expectation that your brother comes to your retirement ceremony.
I think so. Yeah.
I don't think so. No, Travis is, where's Taylor Swift performing right now?
I don't know the answer to that, but this
somewhere
feels
overseas.
Like
he could be.
Taylor Swift's got a lot more concerts. There's only one time your brother retires.
Yeah, I just thought, and Travis is a crier too. He was tearing up throughout that whole thing.
Kept the
sunglasses on. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I had done that. So you got to do the thing where I'm like holding my hand on my cheek like this so that I can just sort of subtly wipe away a tear. Yeah. And it's like
I didn't know how to
get a little pinky here, like.
At the beginning of the thing, I
try not to sniffle, but like every now and then, just you just gotta pretend like it's a swipe. You get that.
I was having a hard time between the videoing, and the tweeting, and the note keeping. Right?
Yeah. So the videoing, I decided I started in the very beginning. Exactly. There's enough people taking videos. Yeah. It's also it feels you become distant from the moment. I want it to be present.
Yes.
For the moment itself. That's why I felt the empathy for
that's
for
why.
Jason.
So I put down the videoing after a minute and a half, then brought it back when he was officially announcing the retirement. I wasn't tweeting as much as I typically did. I was keeping notes of things that I wanted to kind of bring up on the show, but I was really just listening. And it's a day I'll remember.
There you go. A day we will all remember. And that'll do it, I guess. So once again, for all of us here at PHLY, for the good folks at Miller Lite and Game Time and Mortgage CS, we thank you for watching and listening. We will talk to you tomorrow at noon. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.